Yo, Pastor D checking in. Y'all see your boy got the fro game out, but hey, it's another edition of No Cap You Chat right here on Hope TV, man. And today is another day that we will be focusing on a heavy topic. Of course, you all have seen the news this week around the African American males, African American community, with a lot of social injustices and racism and things of that nature. And so today's show will be focused on that. And we got some super dope, amazing students who will be giving their powerful voice to this subject. You know what time it is. It's 3:30, man. We're going to go straight into it. This no cap. Students give their voice, their thoughts, their emotion, and this is their space to be real. And that's what we're going to get today. So look, without further ado, let me introduce you to some of these amazing students. First and foremost, he's no stranger to the show. Got a collegiate student, Mr. Elijah Bibbs, freshman at Vanderbilt University, and he studies civil engineering. And he's representing Arabia Mountain High School class of 2019. So big shout out to Arabia Mountain. And he's been a part of House of Hope ministry, youth ministry, and as a dynamic leader and has an amazing, powerful voice and gift. So welcome, Elijah. What's up, bro?
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Man, always. It's always an honor to have you, man. I'm so excited to have you on today. For sure. Next up, we got Miss Jakai Yancey. Oh man, look, she's my current amazing media production person, photographer, whatever you name, anything with a camera. The girl is bad, y'all. So big shout out to Jakai representing Dutchtown High. Man, she's going a lot of different places. And we're so excited to have you on as a representation for the females here today. How you doing, Jakai?
I'm good.
I'm good. Look, they all right now. Look, this student here that I'm about to introduce is representing Russell County High School all the way out there in Alabama, Russell County, Alabama. Man, this student, I've known him for years. I've called him Mr. President. And when all the accolades this student has is just absolutely phenomenal. Band member, he plays the alto and baritone sax, but he's teaching himself, y'all, how to play the piano, the guitar, the flute, the clarinet. He's been a 4-year student of the world-renowned Springer Opera House in Columbus, Georgia. He's been the president of the National Junior Honor Society. And look, he's a leader in his current ministry, Faith Worship Center International in Columbus, Georgia. He's a leader in the student ministry, the Radical Generation. Y'all show some love for my man, Jeremiah Patterson. What's up, baby boy?
Hey, I'm glad to be on. I'm excited.
Hey, man, it's good to have you guys on, man. I'm so excited to have you on, especially for a topic that we'll be focusing on today. And so, look, we thank you guys for being here. And so we're going to jump straight into it, man. Earlier this week, the world was hit with a hard blow around social injustices, police brutality, racism. And so I want to start with an incident that occurred in New York, Central Park to be exact, where a young lady, a Caucasian female, by the name of Amy Cooper, called the police on an African-American male whose name is Christian Cooper. And they have no relation. But what happened with the incident was Christian Cooper, who's a bird watcher, he goes to the park on a regular basis because of his passion with birds. And in Central Park, there's a rule where you cannot walk your dogs without a leash. They have to be on a leash. And so he noticed Miss Amy Cooper with her dog off the leash, and he just asked her, could she leash the dog? And a lot of us have seen the video where she chose not to, and she began to, get real angry, get hysterical. And what we saw was Mr. Cooper started recording, and she didn't like it. And so the next thing that she says is she was going to call the police on him and say that there was an African American male who was threatening her life. And she proceeds to do that, right? And so, we have an incident like this that is nothing new to the African American community or any minority individual out there in the world. And when the officers get there and they go through the incident and things of that nature, we see the response from it. So I want to start there because even in this week, there were other incidents. One being in Florida, where a lady who drowned her son decided to create a story saying that two African American males stopped her, held her at knife point, and abducted her son and proceeded to drown her. And then right in Macon, Georgia, there was a youth pastor who decided to create a story saying that he was kidnapped by African American males. And we later find out that story isn't true, and that something else occurred. And so I wanted to start there because false accusations, like I said, are nothing new to any minorities or any of the African American community, but they continuously happen. So I just want to get you guys' take on that, especially my African American males on here, Jeremiah and Elijah. Like, what are your thoughts around people of different races using African Americans and minorities as like an excuse, or using them as a scapegoat, or using a situation of false accusations as a threat just to get us in trouble, or just to get us caught up because of emotions or whatever? Like, what's your thoughts around that?
No,
I'll start with you, Elijah.
guess
Go
I'll
ahead,
go
man.
first. I mean, the first word that comes to mind is probably weak. I just the fact that they're trying to control us by saying, "Hey, I'm going to call the cops on you. Hey, I'm going to describe you as black man." It's just, I think it just shows the perception society has of us African American males, that we're just automatically the bad guy in every situation.
Yep.
So it kind of just, of course, it rubs me the wrong way. It's just, it's honestly sad. I just didn't want it to be this way.
Yep. Yep. And I think you are very valid, man, with it. Like, we all don't want it to be this way. And being an African American male myself, being a father, being a leader for students, it's a constant headache, man. Um, I think for us as a people, we're reminded every day with incidents like this, and it has its weight on us, and it is sad. It is sad, man, and I appreciate that honesty. What about you, Jeremiah? You've been a young African American male, man, and a super intelligent student who has a very bright future ahead of him. Like, what are your thoughts around the false accusations for African American males?
I believe at times it comes down to like fear and intimidation because it can be intimidating. Like at times I know that I'm intimidating to people because I'm an intelligent, upstanding black man, well, male. And it can come as a threat to some people because we kind of go against that grain of the stereotype. We go against the grain of, impoverished, illiterate, and many other things. But it's like you've said before that it's not our first time dealing with something like this. One of the major cases that I can think of that had a similar event was Emmett Till, how he was accused of a crime that he did. Well, he had accusations on him that weren't true, and the woman that accused him, she didn't even admit to it until many decades later. It gets very frustrating at times when things happen like this, though.
Oh man, absolutely, man. And that is a huge reference, a reference that a lot of us know about. And it's kind of repeated. It's repeated on a daily basis, whether small or large. And that you spoke it right there, man. Absolutely. Jakai, you being an African American female, like, and you seeing things like this, what is your take on it?
Well, I feel like all of this falls under that "Make America Great Again" thing. So if your skin looks like this, they don't want you to go to jail. They don't want you to be here. So they can do anything in their power to get you locked up or to get you killed, whether it's true or false.
Wow. 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 And look, man, I appreciate you guys being honest. Me being Pastor D, man, y'all know I'm usually excited. I'm always amped up. But even right now, I'm trying to contain my emotions uh, because this is nothing that's new to me. Even with growing up, whether I was in school, you'll have false accusations from people who just try to get you in trouble, man. And I've been through that before, out from kindergarten all the way through college, even now. And honestly, I was talking to a gentleman earlier where my son was introduced to, racism, being falsely accused when he was in kindergarten, y'all. Uh, and as a father, as a man, it's hard to even think about that. It's hard to even try to digest it, and it's scary, it's sad, but it's something that continues to happen, and uh, I think a lot of people have grown numb to it, and we don't want to, but we've grown numb to it. So, like, I've noticed students out there in the world who will see images like this or see the videos, they'll make a statement, but then they'll just push it to the side and keep on with their lives. What are your thoughts about those students out there who are kind of passive with incidents like this? Like those students who just honestly don't even care, maybe don't believe that it can happen to them. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Let me start with you, Jakai. What are your thoughts?
Um, that's a hard one. I feel like maybe because they see things happening to the older generation and they think that, well, it hasn't happened to no one our age, then we're safe. But actually, um, just it can happen to anybody, especially
Yeah.
people of color. Importantly, people of color. And for us, we're just always so passive because no one really asks for our opinion, or we don't really have power to make a difference because the older people
Right.
are always doing. I feel like with us, um, we just don't really have that say, which is why we just don't acknowledge it.
I got you. Wow. Wow. Elijah, come on, talk to me, man. Why do you think some of these students out here are passive, man? Or people in general?
Right. Yeah, it is that mentality that it won't happen to them. And I like the Emmett Till, um, just going all the way back to show that this has existed for centuries, honestly. So,
Yeah.
although I understand you can get numb to it, you can't just push it to the side, say, oh, here we go again. I mean, at some point, you have to understand that you want better for yourself and for your society. So, for you to just be passive about it, I mean, me personally, I find it a little naive just to think that way, not wanting to change anything. Because, I mean, we do have the power to. It's just
Yep.
with our
Wow.
place in society, we're not looked to for that power. So it's kind of hard to overcome each boundary or obstacle that comes our way, which also leads to us being passive.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, Elijah. Jay, what about you, man? What are your thoughts on those students out there who just push these incidents to the side or They just, they really don't even feel them, or they choose not to feel them. Like, what are your thoughts around it?
I think with like some of us, especially with like I know personally that a lot of us, we have different parent ages, that our parents, they grew up either right after those eras, or they were in that era or had parents from that era. And so they were raised in the, you do as you're told, don't really push back unless you want to get killed. And so that just kind of translates down to the next generation at times, and just it oppresses at times. And it's just like, well, it's been like this. Let's just keep ignoring it, just sweep it under the rug, leave it alone, even though we should be doing something about it at times.
Wow. Whew. Powerful. Man, y'all don't understand. Like, my heart, even though this is going on, it just I'm excited to even hear the way that you guys are talking about it, the way you're thinking about it, and it just warms my heart, man. And I'm so proud of y'all, just from listening to your perspectives and listening to your thoughts on these incidents, which brings us to, of course, the extreme. Now, here in Georgia, we had an incident in February with a gentleman by the name of Ahmaud Arbery. And now, even today, all parties who were involved have been arrested, and the FBI is involved with this particular incident. But now in Minneapolis, there was a gentleman by the name of George Floyd who was just sitting in this truck, and officers were called about a possible person writing fraudulent checks. And somebody made mention that Mr. Floyd, I guess, matched the description of the person. The officers went, pulled up to Mr. Floyd's vehicle while he was sitting in it, had the conversations, pulled him out not necessarily pulled him out the vehicle, but asked him out the vehicle. They placed him in handcuffs. And per the officers, they said that he resisted, but as of today, a camera showed from a local business that showed that he wasn't resistant, and that the incident escalated to the point where the visuals that have been placed out there that we've seen is an officer with his knee on the neck of Mr. Floyd, and over a long period of time, Mr. Floyd pleading, saying he can't breathe, and ultimately passing away because of the situation. And there were 4 officers involved in this who have been fired, but the city of Minneapolis has went absolutely just, I don't want to say crazy, but they've lost it in a sense, from emotions, like from the pain, from the injustice of it. So I just want to get you guys' take on that. The police brutality situation, like so many incidents before, is nothing new. And that's a phrase that I keep saying. This is nothing new for us as a minority people, as an African American people. But the images, the videos continue to stick in our brains. It sticks to our hearts. And even though we aren't the person that was in the situation, it affects us in so many ways, especially as males. So just want to get your take on that. Let me start with you, Elijah. What was your take on that particular incident earlier this week?
Probably the first question that came to mind is, why are 4 police officers coming to the scene of someone that's doing a non-violent crime? That just doesn't make sense to me. And
Yep.
for them to use that, oh, he was resisting arrest, that excuse to put their knee on his neck, it's just once again weak, and it was a lie. So this is just unacceptable to a level of uninsurmountable heights. I mean, just Mm-mm. I just can't believe it. Mm-mm. I can't believe it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's. I think a lot of people have gotten to that place where we constantly are saying, "Man, I can't believe this has happened. I can't believe that this continues to happen." Uh, and it's starting to become numbing for everybody. Like we see it, and I guess my biggest fear is racism has always been around and will continue to be around. And I saw a quote by Will Smith who said, I believe racism hasn't magnified; it's just now being recorded. We're just now being able to see it more frequently. Incidents like this, they haven't magnified. We can now see it a lot more, and so at times it feels like it's continuously going up. But the fear is, what incidents haven't been recorded, what situations haven't been recorded uh, across the world, across the nation, that are similar to this. Jay, what's your take, man? You like, I know we've had many conversations, especially with you and your future, and just how incredible you are as a young man, a leader. What were your thoughts on the incident with you being an African American male? When you saw the video, like what came to mind? What were your emotions?
I mean, it was very frustrating, but also concerning having to have an additional layer of like, okay, so like you already have the pre-awareness of, okay, when a cop pulls up to your car, you go ahead and do what they tell you, but now it's even more on top of, you do what they tell you, but at the same time, if they want to do whatever they want to do, they can do that as well, just because they have their called jurisdiction type stuff that they can do, and it's very
Right.
frustrating.
I got you. I got you. I got you, Jakai. What about you, man? When you saw that video earlier, what came to mind? Like, how did you feel?
Well, I look at it at this point, the resisting phrase is no longer an excuse. It's actually the description that, they say that they have on this black male. But when I saw it, I was just like, what leads you to like want to do something this evil, or what did we
Yeah.
do to influence your actions outside of work, while you're working, when you're with your family? Like what gives you the thought like this is okay?
Yeah. Let me ask y'all a question. Even with going off of what Jakai just said, do you guys think parents are raising their students to be, or their kids to be this way? Do you think parents of these students play a big role in the mentality of how these people grow up to become X, Y, and Z? Like, what are your thoughts around that? And this is not to blame parents out there, and I'm going to touch on them later on in the show. But just want to get your thoughts on students who aren't African American. Like, what do you think they think about when they see images like this? And I know all of them aren't racist. I know all of them aren't this way. And I've actually embraced and loved the fact that there are a lot of Caucasian and people who are of color stepping up and allowing their voices to be heard on incidents like this. It's been very warming to see that they're even getting tired of seeing it and being a part of it, and stepping up now to say, just because I'm white, I don't have an excuse not to speak, not to lend my voice, not to help. So what are your thoughts? Matter of fact, not even what are your thoughts. What would you say to students out there around this topic? Like, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them? Like what is something that you want to say to them so that they aren't passive in this type of situation? I'm gonna start with you, Elijah. You my college man representing Vanderbilt. Like what advice would you give students out there?
Um, Advice? Probably to try to understand the law, because a lot of times this happens because we kind of fall for the trap of, okay, the officer's always right. Okay, we had to do everything he says, but at the same time, we have certain rights that we have when an officer comes and pulls us over or whatever. So
Right.
my advice is just try to understand the law better so that we can prevent this.
As best we can. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Chikai? What's your advice to students out there who may be passive, who may be feeling emotional in this situation? Like, what would you tell them to, uplift them or bring awareness or anything of that nature?
I agree with Elijah, and I also definitely would say, a lot of the time the kids around our age, they want to be gangster, they want to be gangbangers and stuff like that, but that only makes you more attractive to police officers and people of high authority. So I would just definitely say put the guns down. um, just all this gang mentality, and you're a thug and you're for the streets and stuff. Just leave that alone. Just stop doing that, because you're just making yourself more attractive, and the more you make yourself attractive, the more they want to get you off the streets. Either they want to lock you up, or worse, kill you.
Yep.
Right.
Wow.
Living up to that stereotype.
That's big. That's big. Why do you think students try to live up to that type of stereotype, man?
Because they see the cool kids doing it, and I guess they want to belong with the cool kids, so they just join in, but they don't realize that it's not a cool thing to do, because you do plant a bigger target on your back doing that, and just the negatives heavily outweigh the positives when you choose that lifestyle.
Absolutely. 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 What about you, Jay? Talk to me. What advice do you have for students out there around this topic, or that may be passive, that may have emotions, that may have anger? Like, what would you say to them?
Like, I definitely agree with everything that everyone has said previously. I know one thing with the passiveness is that it doesn't really if you're passive, it's not going to really touch you or affect you. You'll just kind of probably try to blow it off, but it doesn't really matter to passive people until something similar happens to them. So maybe for the passive people to try to think of something more similar to relate to that, or to even just get involved into reading into it, studying the different type stuff, and being able to get more connected to the rest of the community.
Wow. Wow. What you think the leaders across America should do? Like, at this point, we vote. We know how powerful voting is, and placing the right people in the right positions are. Uh, and like, what is your take on the leadership? How they've dealt with a lot of these situations? Like, what do you think leaders should do? Whether they're mayors, whether they're governors, whether they're presidents. Um, yeah. Like, what do you think they should do, especially in times like this, with situations like this? We've seen leadership in the past address it. We've seen laws go into effect, like one in New York, that there's a law in New York where if you falsely accuse somebody, you can get jail time and things of that nature. And so that was something that a leader in that area took based off of past incidents, and they stepped up to the plate, created the law to be put into effect. But like, what do you think leaders should do, guys? These are the people that's currently representing us as a whole, as a nation, and they see these incidents just like we see them on a daily basis. And some of them are tired, just like we're tired. Some of them don't even have the words anymore, to to even speak on them anymore, because once again you got that numb that it continues to happen and it's not changing. Like, so what do you think leaders should do? Whether they're political, whether they're church leaders, whether they're school leaders, like, what do you think leaders should do across America? Let me start with you, Elijah.
So I was reading, and I was glad to see that the mayor of, I believe it's Minneapolis, like he was saying that there will be justice
Yep.
for um for George. There will be justice for him. This is unacceptable. So just for the mayor of that city to go against what happened, that actually most people don't know it, but it actually helps. It
Yes, sir.
gives people a sense of, hey, he knows what we're going through. He's being sentimental with us. So if we can have that on the national level, I'm not sure, but I haven't seen the president talk about this at all. So we could get that. That would I know we probably won't, because it's not the type of president we have. But if we could get that, that would definitely open a lot of people's eyes and get conversations going, laws into effect.
Yes, sir.
It's really on the leaders.
Gotcha. What about you, Jakai?
I think definitely raising publicity would help from like faith leaders, like Elijah said, mayors and governors and stuff like that. But I also feel like when riots happen and protests happen and stuff, the police are
Yeah.
always on the opposite side. When a lot of them, want to protest and agree with what's happening, I feel like they shouldn't use their force or be always the bad guy. A lot of
Right.
them can protest and just try to create a equal level of ground so that we won't feel as though they're always the bad guys and always trying to play a bad role against what's happening.
Wow. Now that is big, and I'm glad you said that, because the reality is all police officers aren't bad police officers. All representations of the law aren't who their counterparts are portraying out in public, but they get the stigma just like we get the stigma as African Americans. And that was powerful, man. And I'm glad you said that as a student, because it needs to be said. I know when a lot of these incidents occurred, you start seeing people, raising awareness on the blue, like being the voice of the blue, uh, respect the boys in blue or the ladies in blue, and I understand why they are saying that, and I'm glad you made mention of that. That absolutely, that was powerful. It's like everybody in the world has a stigma, or they have a tag based off of another person's actions or another person's words or decisions, and it's not fair for everybody that is a part of that community, that race, that job, whatever. But it just kind of is something that occurs on a regular basis. So I'm glad you said that, man. That was absolutely powerful. Jeremiah, man, you being Mr. President, like, and I look, if y'all don't listen to me, if he runs for, if he goes into politics and he does become the next president, just know you heard it here first. Like, what are your thoughts about leadership, Jay? Uh, and what do you think they should do?
I'm kind of bouncing off the same thing that Elijah said with how leaders should acknowledge it. It's it's very empowering to people, and it helps people actually know that their voices and their efforts are actually heard, and what they're doing and what they want is actually heard by their leaders when the leaders actually acknowledge it, when the leaders don't just sweep it under a rug or try to just give us a little apology, because at times the apologies can be good. The apologies can be good, don't get me wrong, but sometimes apologies can't be enough, because there have been the cases when a police officer or someone might falsely accuse someone of color or kill someone of color, and they might get off for it, and then they eventually might be arrested for maybe about a year or so, and then just be right back in the streets. I think one great example is George Zimmerman after the Trayvon Martin case, how he had done that. There was all the evidence, and he was essentially just let go back into society.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wow. Wow. Now this is a question it's been hitting me as we've had these conversations. I want your thoughts on it. I'm going to give you time to think about it. But what is your definition of being Black in America? And I'm gonna give you time to think about that. And it's of course the theme of our show, but it's something that I want to get your perspective, your thought on as a young person who is going to be the next. You're going to be the next voice. You're our future. And so I really want to know what your definition is of being Black in America. But before that, I just want to affirm you guys once again, man. I'm proud of you, and it's just an honor. Like it is truly an honor to hear your perspectives, to hear your voice in incidents and situations like this, because you guys feel just like we feel as adults. You guys are affected just like we're affected, and I will even go to the great lengths of saying you're infected with the thoughts of it, with the trauma from it, just like we are infected, And so I want to affirm you because one, affirmations are powerful, and they, when done on a consistent basis, remind you of just who you are. They remind you of just how powerful you are, no matter the opinion, no matter the hate, no matter the injustice. And affirmations have been used by some of the greatest of all times. It's something that we hear and that we need to implement on a daily basis. I do it with my son, and we're getting ready to start with my 2-year-old daughter, and of course with my baby when he gets of age. But we affirming you and reminding you of just who you are. So I just want to let you guys know, and every student out there, every minority out there, anybody that's affected by this, you're needed, you're loved, you're valued, you're uniquely gifted, you're strong, you're more than enough. You're more than enough. You're unstoppable. You're God's masterpiece. You're a king. You're a queen. You are the future. And you make me proud, and anybody that loves you, you make them proud, and you should be proud of yourselves. And I need you to recognize inside of you, there's a change agent for the now and for the future. And so as you guys continue to see things of this nature, allow it to stir up that change agent in you to create a better world, a better America, a better community by using your voice, your vote, your intelligence, by using just everything that you've been purposed to be. And so I just wanted to affirm you guys on that. So with that being said, man, just what does being Black in America mean to a lot of you students out there? Let me start with you, Jakai.
Being Black in America to me means that I should be able to walk outside and take a run without getting shot dead. I should be able to, walk the streets and, make a change in my community without having to interfere with white people. I should, be able to just, not be able to be scared to go outside, go to the store, do anything. But, times have changed and society has changed, and number 45 has really just he's trying to make America great, but America was never great for us. And I feel like now, since all this is happening, we need to be able to make a change. We need to unite with each other first, and then we can unite with communities so that we can start preventing this.
Wow. Woo! 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 Jeremiah, I'm gonna turn it over to you, man. Mr. President, talk to me.
I believe that being black in America means that you should be able to go somewhere and not instantly have someone get a thought about you in their mind or a judgment about you in your mind just because your skin isn't the same color as theirs or your hair texture isn't the same color as theirs. But like, I've been raised not to really see color. I've been raised to judge people off of the way of their actions and not off their skin tone. So being black in America means that I should be able to be me and be judged for me and not this.
Wow. Man, Elijah, come on, man. Bring me home, man. Bring me home. What does being black in
Two.
America mean?
So personally for me, I think being black in America is a gift and a curse. A gift because through all we've been through in our 400 years of being in America, for us to not even be seen as a full citizen, to being CEOs, owners, and presidents, just overcoming all obstacles. That's just the gift in us that we there's no limit to us. There's no limit to specifically a black person. But the curse is that we always live with this double standard of we can't do what a white person does. We're always seen as inferior. We're never given the privileges. It's just being black in America is pretty much unfair. I mean, just being blatant.
No, you are. I love it, and especially with you making a statement of it being a gift and a curse. Uh, and it is something that we didn't ask for. Like we didn't ask to be black, we didn't ask to be males, we didn't ask to be, a lot of these things, but we are. And I can't say it enough of how honored, how proud, how blessed you have been just in this moment for me as an older black male to hear your perspectives as the next generation, to hear your thoughts, to hear your intelligence, to hear your compassion and your passion. Like just to hear it lets me know the future is in absolute amazing hands, and you guys are the change that the world needs to see and have. And so, my words to everybody that's watching this show, our prayer is that you're able to be open, honest about your feelings, your emotions, when incidents that like this that occur. In no way, shape, form, or fashion is this show to point or start any type of race blaming, anything of that nature, but just for you to hear just how powerful the next generation's voice is around topics and situations like this. And so I encourage you to no longer just look at the images, look at the videos, hear it on the news, scroll past it, double tap it, put your little heart emojis in it. I no longer will tell you to like don't do that anymore. Like it's no longer can we sit and just let this situation be big for a few days and then as time goes on it dies off. Like when you refuse to accept or make racism acceptable in any form in your homes, your country, your church, your community, your heart, you can have the potential to play a small part in the solution for the change. And so we as believers in Christ, we know that we being a follower of Christ means more than just feeling bad, means more than just sitting, watching, crossing the street when you see somebody in need. Come on, y'all. Y'all already know where I'm going with it. But it means that being a follower, we stand up. We stand up for our brothers. We stand up for our sisters, whether that's by our voice, whether that's by our vote, whether that's by our actions and not just our words. And so I charge you, I challenge you, no matter what color you are, no matter what race you are, no matter what, if you're male, female, I challenge you today, especially parents, especially parents. I'm a parent, a young parent. I challenge you as parents to have these conversations with your kids. Have the conversations about racism. Have the conversations about injustices. And I know as parents, we try to protect our kids from a lot of these things. And we try to make sure that we talk about them at the right time, but now is the right time. Like I told you guys earlier, I made mention earlier, my son experienced racism in kindergarten. And I, as a father, didn't even know how to explain it to a kindergartner at the time. And so we tried our best to explain it. And then we immediately went into protection mode. And so I challenge you guys to start having those conversations. At the core, like we're all the same. And we want to feel safe. We want to feel accepted. We want to know that we're loved. And teaching our kids to be colorblind sets them up for failure. To teach our kids to not see what we see, it sets them up for failure. And walking around and acting like it doesn't happen or you don't see the differences can actually do more harm than it can do good. And so we as parents, we as leaders, we as the next generation, we should set the example. We should help our kids navigate through their thoughts, through their emotions, and just be open about the current circumstances. Racism, social injustices, police brutality, any topics around this can be very difficult to explain to children, right? No matter who you are. And some of us as parents may worry that introducing these concepts can be more damaging. They can be scary, especially if our kids are the targets of racism. And even for us as parents who've experienced it, right? But instead of you staying silent, it's very crucial for you to empower your children and have these conversations, hear their minds, hear their thoughts, allow them to express themselves so you as a parent can know when they're at school, when they're at church, when they aren't around you, exactly what their minds may be thinking, exactly how they may feel with situations like this. And then we as parents, as leaders can help better equip, better educate, and prepare students as best we can. And I say that with a sincere heart because I know we cannot stop things like this from happening all the time. I know that. But we cannot stop empowering. We cannot stop educating. We cannot stop preparing our students. You heard these amazing students say it best. Educate them on the laws, educate them on what they should do, how they should respond, how they should act. And I know we shouldn't have to. I know we shouldn't have to, but we have to. You feel me? And so, parents, I need you to know it's okay. I need you to know it's okay to do it now. And even if you don't know, it's okay. It's natural. And it's natural for us as parents to feel like we should have all the answers. And y'all know it's impossible to have all the answers as parents, right? And sometimes the best answer is, hey, son, baby girl, I don't know, but let's find out together. Matter of fact, let's read together. Let's learn this together so that we can be better. And look, that's my heart right now, y'all. And so look, once again, thank you to you amazing students for your voice, for your heart. Thank you for you being you unapologetically. I love that about each one of you. And it's been an honor to sit and listen to your powerful voices and even learn so that I can help with the next generation in preparation as well. So Man, thank y'all for being on the show. Thank you guys so much for being brave, for being courageous. And thank you for the impact that you all will be making on the nation and on the world. I'm speaking that over your lives. Thank you in advance for the impact that you guys will have in being the change and making a change. Man, we love y'all. This has been another edition of No Cap You Chat, where super dope students can be raw, be authentic, tell their truth, and most importantly, speak up so that their voices can be heard. Hey, man, y'all have a blessed day. We love y'all. Peace.